Kentucky basketball wins a shootout in Starkville, led by a player that we have been waiting to come to life offensively.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's massive road victory over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. 95-90 is the final score. Cats gut one out on the road, led by yours truly, Jaxson Robinson. Ladies and gentlemen, he has finally come alive. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're watching the live stream, it would be great if you subscribe to the show. If you're listening to this post-cast here on the podcast feed, I would love it if you subscribe to the podcast feed as well. Leave a comment if you're watching this live on YouTube. Leave a like if you're there as well. Let me know what you think about this performance. Just a gutsy, big-time victory for the Cats on the road, 95-90, a game that I didn't think Kentucky would be able to find a way to win. Everything on paper suggested that this would be a bad matchup, but sure enough, the Cats come in clutch. Let's go ahead and get into it. I want to start. There is literally no other place to start right now than Jaxson Robinson and the performance that he had today. We have been talking game after game after game after game after game about whether or not Jaxson Robinson was going to finally show up this season. So far, through 15 games, he was shooting 29.5% from three. We were waiting on the game that he was finally going to come to life as the biggest transfer portal pickup that Kentucky had this offseason, and here he is today. 27 points, 9 of 12 shooting, 7 of 10 from three. He had 3 rebounds, 2 assists in 30 minutes of play. This is what you wanted to see. Big time stuff on the road, hostile environment, physical team. Again, everything on paper suggests you're supposed to lose this game. You're supposed to go in there. You're supposed to lose to Cam Matthews and company. And sure enough, Jaxson Robinson steps up in that first half. Just a monster first half performance there with 16 points, 4 of 5 from the floor. He kind of cooled off a little bit in the second half, but still 11 points, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 6 from the floor. This is what you wanted to see. I am so proud of Jax for continuing to fight, continuing to play through it. I know that there have been confidence issues, there have been energy issues, there have been ups and downs so far for him, but one thing remained true throughout this entire process. And this goes with Kirk Risa, who has started the season shooting poorly. Once he gets back, I'm going to continue to hit this refrain. This player here, Jax, he is talented. You did not just pick up somebody that was averaging, I believe, 14 points per game, leading one of the best teams in the country in scoring a season ago, just for no reason. He didn't come here just to kind of flame out. He was an extremely talented player coming out of the portal, and he showed it tonight. It was going to happen at some point. The question that you have to ask at this point now is whether or not it continues. Do you see Jax carry this over into, I believe, the Texas A&M game that's going to be happening on Tuesday? Massive, gutsy performance from Jax. Just soft touch, by the way, on some of those three-point shots. You see him rush things at times. I think you see him kind of get a little too quick into his three-point shot, just kind of chucking it up there, but soft touch. He was allowed the ability to do that with the space that he was creating. Kentucky now 13-3 on the season, largely due in part to what Jaxson Robinson was able to do tonight. I am so impressed that he was able to come out here, just continue to fire, and have such a great first and second half performance. This is what you were waiting for. You were waiting for Jax to have a complete dominant game, and that's what you got from your leading scorer tonight. So impressive for Kentucky to be able to go out and win this game. A mature road victory for the Kentucky Wildcats. Absolutely no questions about it. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in the live chat. We'll be reading stuff that you guys have to say here as we continue along. Appreciate some of you guys already in here. Some people that I've already seen quite a bit over the course of my time doing this show. For those of you that are new that are commenting on the show, hey, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, again, I would love to have you. Love continuing to break down Kentucky basketball as they wade deeper into SEC play. Guys, we said it over and over and over and over and over again after that Georgia game. It's hard to win on the road, virtually impossible uncomfortable whenever you have games like you did against Georgia, where it feels like everything's against you. The physicality's against you. The matchups against you. The three-point shooting's against you. The officials are against you. You had some things go against you tonight. Mississippi State banking in threes, hitting shots that they normally don't hit. They took 40 three-pointers in this game, by the way. I don't know if you realize that. 40 three-pointers. And Kentucky manages to come out on top. Again, it starts and ends with Jax. It starts and ends with Jax. I am so impressed with this performance tonight. So impressed with this performance. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this Kentucky game. Just a huge win for the Wildcats, now 13-3. Yet another quad one win. I saw somebody tweet this out. I think it was Wildcats tongue. I may be wrong on that. But Kentucky now has 4. Count them up. 4, for those of you at home, Jevons, if you're watching, appreciate you. 4 different wins against top 12 net teams. No other team in the country has more than 2. No other team in the country has more than 2. The lows of this team are frustrating to watch, but the highs, they are unlike anything else I've seen in college basketball. The threes fall. The offense is beautiful. The offense was beautiful tonight. You don't just go on the road against a top 30 defense and just casually drop 95. Or, 95. By the way, Mississippi State, the reason I said 35 is because they just dropped to 38th in adjusted defensive efficiency. I think they were 27th whenever they came into this game. Kentucky's offense jumped from 9th in the country to 3rd on KenPom after this game. Duke, Gonzaga, Florida, and Mississippi State, very good wins according to Luke Newman comments. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. This was such a great win for Kentucky to see their leading scorer just come to life here for the Cats. Just be able to go on the road and be able to knock down the shots that he has been struggling with all season long. You absolutely love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. We'll continue to dive into this. Mississippi State fought their heart out in this game. I thought the officiating crew, again, as bad as it's been, it was inconsistent in this game. Kentucky got away with some things. Mississippi State got away with some things in the first half. At least it was more balanced out. We'll continue to break this down here for you guys. Before we continue that, though, I do want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions in winnings. Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. And now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. I've absolutely loved taking more on Lamar Jaxson so far this season. He is dominating right now in the Steelers-Ravens wildcard matchup if you're watching that one on TV. But with the Prize Picks flex play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So if you've got something on Lamar, if you got something on Russell Wilson, and something doesn't hit, you can still win your money, and you can get it as fast, sometimes as 15 minutes, as little as 15 minutes. Really awesome stuff. Love Prize Picks. And you can get ready to run your game this football season by downloading the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 for just playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. That is Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, continuing along here on the Saturday evening edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. Again, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Let's talk here about another player that had Mississippi State's leading scorer. There's no other way to put it. Mississippi State's leading scorer in a torture chamber. Lamont Butler. This is his house. This is his house. There was nothing that Josh Hubbard could do. Hubbard's a great player. Really good, electric, high-octane player. Fun to watch. Could not keep up with Lamont Butler tonight. Lamont Butler only had 10 points. He was 4 of 12 shooting. Had a lot of things swatted at the rim. Mississippi State will do that to you. But Butler, 8 assists, no turnovers. defensively. Oh, defensively. Hubbard got some stuff, right? 15 points, but on 5 of 16 shooting and 3 of 11 from 3. He was chucking at the end. Gentlemen, if you watched this game a season ago, you saw Hubbard hitting clutch shots at the end of before the end of regulation. Of course, Shepard closed that one out to make it 18 straight against the Dogs. This Kentucky team with Butler is a little bit different. They held it down. Hubbard didn't stand a chance tonight. To be able to come into this game knowing that your lead guard can defend and shut down the opposing team's score like that is so refreshing. It's great. It's so good, dude. We didn't have this last year. And I know this Kentucky team, they struggle defensively pretty consistently, especially with ball screen stuff. But man, Butler had this. Butler had their leading scorer in a torture chamber, and they had to look elsewhere. I do want to give credit to Cameron Matthews. If you watch the show, Cameron Matthews was our biggest matchup problem. He was the X factor here. He only averages about 8 points a game, but I said he was the biggest problem for Kentucky defensively. I didn't know if they had anybody that could cover him consistently, and they didn't tonight. 19 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. He had 5 free throws to go into that. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 steals for Cameron Matthews, 6 steals for Matthews. That's a good ball player. I'm sure State would love to try him out at tight end or running back with the way that he likes to play ball, just barreling down the lane and just either drawing a foul or finishing. But he's a good ball player. He's very good. When they did not have things going with Hubbard, they turned to him. And to be frank, they couldn't get stuff going with Hubbard because of the fact that he was out of most of the second half with foul trouble. He came back into the game once Kentucky got on a little bit of a run. Shout out Ainsley Almanor. And he was not able to do much of anything. Actually, I need to go check his second half stats. Yeah, 5 points, 2 of 6 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3. Yeah, he just couldn't get it done. Just could not get it done. A&M loses to Bama. So they lose at home to Bama. That's interesting. Will be an interesting game on Tuesday. It certainly will. Kim Pom is not updated to show that loss to Alabama at home, but with the way, dude, the inefficient offense that Texas A&M runs, it's hard to see them beating teams that are that good offensively like Alabama without like rebounding like crazy. This Kentucky team, by the way, up to number 21 on Kim Pom. You're looking here, seeing again the third best offense, 87th on defense. They jump 4 spots there. Projected to beat Texas A&M here at home. It's going to be a close, tight one. Wade Taylor didn't play. Okay, well then that checks out. That makes sense. Not the most efficient player for Taylor, but again, man, we could sit here and ramble about the way that some of the best teams in the SEC like to play. I wonder if how much of an impact Taylor would have made there as far as efficiency goes. But yeah, Riley Kugel gave us issues as well. You're right. Big-time player transfer from Florida. Really solid slasher. He hit a couple of corner threes that are just not typically things that he makes. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had a hand injury in this one. He came back with it taped up. He still hit an outside shot despite that. Mississippi State hit 12 three-pointers in this one. 12. Again, it just didn't matter. It just simply did not matter that they hit 12 three-pointers. Kentucky, 55.7% from the floor, 50% from beyond the arc, 16 of 32. 32 threes. Mark Pope has continued to talk about volume. Again, I come back to, I think it's about efficiency for Kentucky. If you're going to be taking 28 to 35 threes a game and you're not going to rebound well, you have to be able to hit a higher percentage. That is just flat out how you're going to win games. If you can't play ball screen defense, and if you can't rebound, if you can't take away possessions from your opponent, there is no other option other than to simply hit a higher percentage of shots. Because if you want to argue, well, we need to play with more tempo, we need to just get more shots up, again, you're putting yourself into this possible rut where you allow teams to go on runs more often against you, and we know about the Evan Mia kill shot. We don't want to have to get into that. Very, very weird stuff here with Kentucky as far as getting hot and cold and hot and cold. This was a night where they were hot. This was frankly a night where Almanor and Jax were hot. And that was about it. Christopher Smith said, so is sliding with the ball in the hand not a travel anymore? Seriously asking. I'm not sure. This is, by the way, Hubbard got called for a carry in this game. That's the first carry I've seen called this season. And the announcers made a point, like you could call that essentially every trip down the floor if you wanted to. Yes, you could. If they would call carrying, if they would call hand checking, and if they would call the arm bar that Somto Cyril was throwing at Kentucky's players on Tuesday, if they would call those three things more consistently, would completely change the game. Would completely change the game. This was not meant to be as physical of a contact sport as it currently is. People like Cameron Matthews would not exist if the game was called by the book. But this is the way that it is, and guys like Matthews ball. All right, we're going to continue to wrap this up here. Big time win. Again, if you guys have not subscribed to the show, thank you guys so much for watching. There's like 270 of you in here, which is just insane. We're going to continue to break this down here. We'll take a look at chat, see what you guys have to say about this one. If you've got any thoughts, please go ahead and put them in. Before I get to that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Again, FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I absolutely love betting on which players will score a touchdown versus how many points each team will score. You can also do total yardage for individual players. So if you want to get running backs in a half, a game, and a quarter, it's all very fun stuff there. Absolutely love throwing it down, especially in the playoffs. So you can visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, that's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, wrapping up the Saturday night edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys in chat. If you are watching here live, would love if you subbed, would love if you liked the video, would love if you commented, and let me know what you thought about this massive win. Just massive win over a very good Mississippi State team. Just able to offensively gut it out. That's how you got to do it. William says, go Cats, watching from Puerto Rico. Really appreciate you watching, man. That's really cool. There's a couple of you I consistently watch from out of the United States, and it's really, really cool to see. So appreciate you tuning in, man. Great Kentuckian says, hello, Lance. Didn't watch most of the game, but watched the last few minutes. Glad we won, and my Ravens also won. Yeah, Lamar Jackson cooking in the playoffs here, and Kentucky finding a way in those final minutes to gut one out. Again, I want to shout out Lamont Butler. I want to shout out Ainsley Almanor. Almanor came off the bench, man. 4 of 7, 11 points, 3 of 6 from 3. A couple of huge shots in that second half. Massive shots in the second half. The gravity of Brea gave Butler and Jaxson more room to drive and cut with him on the floor. I agree. I think that they really decided to become more aggressive there against Brea, both in the first and second halves. You saw it, I think, even more in the second half. And so it opened up things for Jax. Brea, for some reason, didn't have a good game. Again, I think they overcommitted. I think they simply overcommitted. And it gave guys like Jax an opportunity to show what he's capable of. This is what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about all summer long. This was, statistically, if you want to go look, one of the best shot-making teams in the country. Like, in terms of, like, what you did for your roster, positions 1 through 4, it was one of the best catch-and-shoot teams in the nation. And you haven't seen the team execute at an extremely high level there, but you saw it tonight. You saw the one guy that has been incredibly hot. I think he was overplayed, and therefore you got to see guys like Robinson and Almanor step up, and they hit the shots that they haven't. Luke Newman says, Lance, I think personally Kentucky will be a 2 seed in the tournament. Who do you have Kentucky ranked in the NCAA tournament? I would currently right now, I mean, with this win, Kentucky, according to Lenardi, would be a 3 seed, I think. The fact that you have 4 top 12 net wins, you have 4 quad 1 wins already, Right now, I would have Kentucky as a 3. It just strictly depends on what you do with the rest of your home slate. If you're able to win out at home and you're able to steal one more on the road, you're able to go like 11-7 in SEC play, you're going to be a 3 or a 2. That's just how good the SEC is this season with the strength of schedule here. 11-7 plus those wins over Duke and Gonzaga, by the way. I want to just make that point. Michael Bell says our free throw shooting still needs to work too inconsistent from the free throw line this season. One game we're good at the line, the next we're basically, I assume he was going to say something negative there. Yeah, 57.9% is just simply not going to cut it. It's bad. It's really bad. Could have lost you the game. Could have absolutely lost you the game. Let's see. Great Kentuckian says, Lance, I think one thing that will kill us against these hard teams is the focus on setting up plays and not going with the flow, following an offensive rebound. They hold on the ball too long. Not setting up plays and not going with the flow. Yeah, I think that's definitely an issue. I think this team excels whenever there's more pace, period, whether that be in the half court or in transition. I actually asked Mark Pope about that at SEC Media Days about like what he wants his tempo to look like compared to where it was last season at BYU. And he continued to emphasize the fact that it's not just transition. It's very much so what you do in the half court with your speed, finding an open shot and taking it. I think Kentucky could do a much better job of trying to find some flow. Again, I think part of that has to do with the fact that they get bumped and pushed a little bit, and that kind of throws them off their game. They don't have the best ball handlers in the world on top of that, so personnel-wise, it's kind of difficult to do. I think next season, you'll see some more consistency with that, possibly with a Caden Lewis and Jasper Johnson, but they're freshmen, so that may offset it. But anyway, I do agree with you. I do agree with you. Christopher Smith says, glad to see Jack show up. Hope he sticks around. Travis getting more and more comfortable at the point. I like what I'm seeing from him. I agree. Travis has come in, and he's played well. He's played well. When he's open, he hits it. When he's open, he hits it. That's what he was last season, his high school senior season, really throughout the entire time in high school. He's a guy that can absolutely stick it. And I know the numbers didn't reflect that early in the season, but now that he's getting an opportunity to show it more, with Creesa out, he's playing well. Let's see. Will the baseball Cats get back to Omaha? My assumption is if they don't, they'll get very close. It's going to be another really good team this year. I've said it all year long. Almanor is the X factor. I agree. You got to have him and Jack step up. Julie Sheving says, are they working on their free throw shooting? They better. they better. The guilty parties here were Garrison and we're Butler tonight. And then Owe went 3 of 6 from the line as well. If you have Butler make his shots, which he typically does, and if you have Garrison go 1 of 2 from the line, I mean, this looks a little bit better. Perry can't be getting hooked and knocked down by Hubbard. I think that was a bad call. I agree. And then Ito, the F&D, mentioned something that we are going to talk about probably Monday. I've got this on the board for the show. Too bad about those Arkansas Razorbacks. For the first time in his career, John Calipari is 0-3 in SEC play to start. That is just shocking. To be fair, he's played some really tough competition, but at the same time, he's gotten, I think, 2 of those games at home. The offense has been pathetic. I think we're in a much better spot with Pope. That's what I'll say for now. Defense needs some work, but Alabama made the Final Four last year with the 111th ranked defense. They certainly did, but that bucked a lot of historical trends. So it does need to get better, I think. But you're right. I mean, a team showed last year that they can do it. Kentucky could also absolutely do it as well. How is Carr's back? He doesn't look or move the same lately. He certainly doesn't. I mean, he had 13 points in this one, 6 boards. A couple just tough, just fighting through the pain, I guess. I don't know what the status is with him as far as his back. I would love to have him for that A&M game because I think he would be huge, like really big matchup-wise. But I don't know what the status is coming out of this game. Free throw shooting just seems fixable. I agree. It does. With the amount of seniors that you have on roster, though, how much work can you do? Especially now that the summer's gone. Like, you're in season. Like, this is game time. Biker Believer also puts out another really interesting point. If not for the turnovers unforced, Kentucky would have won this game by 15 or so tonight. I agree. Kentucky this game, 13 points. Mississippi State, 13 turnovers. Mississippi State, 20 points off of those 13 turnovers. If you don't turn the ball over like you normally do, you win this game, I think, comfortably, which is crazy to say. It's you have to be a little bit cleaner with the basketball. This was almost a perfect offensive performance. Almost a perfect offensive performance. Dawe, 15 points, as consistent as ever. 6 of 9, 0 of 1 from 3, but 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Unfortunately, those 4 turnovers. Carr, like I mentioned, had 13. Williams, 4 of 5 from the charity stripe, had 10 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Unfortunately, 5 turnovers. Can't have that. Brea had a bad game, 1 of 6 from 3 with 3 boards. Garrison didn't get involved that much, only 3 points. On the 1 3-pointer he took, I guess we got to give Garrison some more outside shots. The last time Coach Cal went 0-3 in conference play was when he coached at UMass in 1988 or 1989. It is, wow. Wow. Is Carr's back condition something from a game? I think it was from last game. I don't know for certain. Looked a lot tougher this game. I agree. Kentucky, I think, had a little bit more physicality, a little bit more edge to them. Not by much, but a little bit more edge for certain. Let's see. Kentucky, still one of the worst, teams in the nation in terms of 2-point defense. Right now, they're in the bottom third there. They're 16th in the SEC with giving up 64.8% at the rim. That's got to improve. You can't outshoot everybody. Isaacs, who's been watching the show for a long time, says Jaxson Robinson has shown us who he can be, and I hope he can be like that the rest of the year. Carr seems like a 90s Bird. I don't know about Bird, but I certainly do see a lot of throwback stuff in his game, and I agree with Isaacs there. This has to be the game where he steps up. Has to be. Absolutely has to be. Biker Believer says, agree with Fluke. Amari's focus and effort made a huge difference tonight. Yeah, he locked in. Yeah, he absolutely locked in. He locked on. That was stupid. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been fun. Again, if you have not subscribed to the show today, please go ahead and do so. If you have not liked the video, would love for you to do that as well. This was a big win, guys. I am shocked that Kentucky was able to pull this one out. Everything on paper pointed towards the fact that they weren't going to. But I said in the preview, hey, we saw how BYU handled games like at Kansas last year. They were able to clutch it out. They made 14 threes in that game. They make 16 tonight, shoot 50% from beyond the arc. Big time stuff. Again, really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed one more time, go ahead and do so. That's going to do it for tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hey, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_ and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.